Hi, my name is Mikey. This is Tyler. We're the founders of Innovative Start. And yeah, we are looking to empower future generations in financial literacy from underrepresented communities. Then just looking to inform, not persuade. And today we're going to tackle a couple of topics, touch back on a few things that we've talked about in other videos. But yeah, just before this, we were talking about buy now, pay later, credit cards, the predatory factor. How do, the average Americans handle the buy now, pay later system? Some of those companies that are implementing them and how the debt has been getting to their business practices and such. But Tyler was going to get ready to say a few things about some of that buy now, pay later credit lending type. But yeah, Tyler, you can go ahead with your piece that you're gonna go ahead and get started with.
Buy now, pay later. I was listening to a podcast about the history of Visa on it's the Acquired podcast, and they're saying essentially something along the lines whenever they first started like marketing credit cards, the merchants or the people that were selling things that the consumers were buying, so whether that's a restaurant or retail store, they were concerned that the credit card, the transaction wouldn't go through, something along the lines of lending the debt because there wasn't a physical asset, if that makes sense.
Mm,
Like for a home, if you default on your mortgage, the bank gets the house. But if you don't pay your credit card, it's not like the credit card company can get the shoes or whatever you're buying at the store. There's no collateral. That's the word I was looking for. But it's like buy now, pay later. If you already ate the Chipotle sandwich or the Chipotle burrito, what are they gonna like? There's no collateral if you don't pay pay it back.
yeah,
So this is what's I'm curious. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like,
it's crazy because you're also hitting on just like fiat fiat currency in general, like how it's not tied to anything. So how do you get your worth out of it? Like, as humans, we put worth certain things like, oh, this is a rare material, rare item, rare mineral, rare rock. This is how much I want it to be worth, right? Because in general, like if you look at, a diamond or whatever, right? You're like, oh, it's going to be this much because that's what we say it is. With like those other ones, it's like, okay, yes, you're extending something that doesn't exist to get some type of future item or whatever, but they can never come back and get that. And then Tyler earlier when we just talked was talking about like, you know, um, one of his barbers offering buy now, pay later. I don't understand how that would work because like what are you gonna do? Get a half haircut? Then like I feel like that creates some tension, right? Because if I don't fully pay you for my haircut or I'm still on a payment plan, and I come back and I'm like, hey, I need to get chopped back up. Like, are you gonna deny me a service because I can't, pay you fully? Again, in my last video I was talking about is like for the small purchases, right? It's not like a haircut like, $200, $300. Now there are people that do pay that much. I don't know why. But a 15, 20, even, $50 haircut, right? If you cannot afford that, then maybe you should wait, look a little, like a rascal for a little bit longer until you have money to actually get that done. Because putting it on a extended credit, and then that's like I said, the only thing they can do is hurt your credit. They can't track you down and be like, hey, give me your hair back or something like that. Like it just doesn't make sense. Or people put it on DoorDash orders. Like, what are they gonna do? The food's already digested and probably already out. So like, I don't know how that works. Recently it came out that those businesses that do offer buy now, pay later that are partnering with, some credit companies or whatever, they're in debt, right? Because in reality, the business framework sounds good because you think, oh, just because you don't have the money now, you'll pay me over time, right? But history shows that if you extend somebody something, right? If they didn't have the money at that time, they're not gonna have the money later. I just feel like it's common sense at that point. But yeah, interesting dynamic. I just feel like it's something that like people should consider. Like if you major purchases only, like it's just like whenever you get a credit card, somebody's like, hey, use this for small stuff. Buy now, pay later. Major purchases only that you can pay off over time. you should not be using buy now pay later. If you are looking at like a small purchase and you're like, oh yeah, I'm about to put buy now pay later. Think like, is it really worth it? Like, are you're really doing some credit lending for something that you don't have? But yeah, to re regurgitate what Tyler was saying is it. I don't know how it's gonna work. Um, you can look at like before. I mean, buy now pay later has always been a thing. That's basically financing, but now you're doing it on a smaller scale for lesser valued items. Um, but yeah, highly interesting. Tyler, any more thoughts on that as far as it goes?
Now, I think they're able to, man, I don't know the specifics. There's something with the four payments. I think if they go over four payments, then they have to run credit or something like that. Um, Try to check this real quick, but anyway, it is very interesting. I'm curious to see what's going to happen in the future, and it's yeah, we'll see what
They're
happens.
also charging interest on like a certain amount of payments. So like if you can't make it within that payment window, kind of going back to what Tyler says, like usually they give you like a 3 to 4 payment window without interest. But usually if you have to do more than that, like say you got to do 6 months, a full year, or whatever else, they're gonna charge interest. So now on top of what you're paying for the original price for that less whatever item that you didn't have to use buy now pay later on, now you're going to be paying that and then some. Again, buy now pay later, glorified financing. That's all it is really. um you should try to stay away from it. It's just as bad. Like credit cards and all of those type of systems are all predatory in nature. It's just going to dig you a hole that you didn't really need to dig. Sometimes you have to just, the FOMO might get to you, your impatience might get to you, but you have to be patient. You have to be disciplined about those purchases because those small, pieces here and there, they're gonna add up, and then you're gonna be in the deepest hole ever, or you're gonna be facing the largest mountain of debt ever. That you just built for yourself from just, simple mistakes within your financial habits. Um,
It's not just sacrifice.
it's
Eat the rice and chicken and the beans.
You just
And
you just got to. And the thing is like most people that you hear that, right, that don't get to the point, because I think there's like two sides of it, right? There are people that are highly against changing their lifestyle because they feel that, I've already did the work of maybe getting my degree or getting, a good paying job. I shouldn't have to really suffer in order to pay certain things or have a certain lifestyle. There's other people that are like, I'll make those sacrifices now so that I can be debt free. So they're going to, not live in the most comfortable space, live well below their means, um, not get to eat the food that they want to. Maybe they're eating the bare minimum that they need to get by or whatever. Not taking trips, not doing any, luxury like activities. Like I said, those are two different sides of the spectrum. Some people are like, you know what, let's just get out the way. This is anywhere between a year to 3 to 4 of me just grinding. Other people are like, I'm tired of that. I'm owed this. So you'll talk to those two different people and you're like, you know. I do believe that if you really want something to go your way, especially in the financial working world, sacrifices are needed to be made. You can't have it both ways. I think preparation will help you from feeling entitled to a certain type of lifestyle. Um, to a degree, yes, you've done some of that work, but then the job's not finished. So I would just say look at it that way in reality.
one last thing on this. So what I was talking about was the Truth in Lending Act.
Hmm.
It requires credit card. Sorry, what is it? It requires It's a federal law designed to protect consumers from inaccurate and unfair credit billing and credit card practices. So it requires lenders to provide borrowers with clear information, annual percentage rate, things like that. Um, the buy now pay later and companies are not subject to that act because they're four or less payments. So it make it predatory. I don't want to say one way or the other that I'm not sure. I can't definitely say that about some of the companies, but it's something to be cognizant or aware of.
Hmm. Yeah. I think, and going into, our next topic is just y- uh, credit is like whatever it is as far as needing it to make certain purchases, like buying a home, financing a car, and stuff like that. Like, it's this weird kind of system that we have in place to see what kind of, model citizen you are, whether you have a good credit score, you have an average credit score. These all determine, even renting, right? That's going to determine if you got to pay, first and last month's uh, rent up front, or, they'll just extend that. Oh, you're good on your payments and everything else. You got a good credit score. We don't need that. We don't need, any type of security deposit. That's another thing that people don't, look out for as far as it goes. Like, these things add up. Obviously, in a perfect world, maybe you can not have, credit, but at the same time, how do you know people are trustworthy with their money? That's what buy now, pay later is like, it's on the fence of, I feel like, is because like some of these people have terrible credit and they're using buy now, pay later, and you're extending that to them knowing that they're not going to pay you back, essentially. So then what do you do with that debt as a company? That's what doesn't make sense. I don't know how you make that into a profitable business. And like I said, if you go and look at some of those businesses that offer those type of, buy now, pay later options, go look at those companies that offer those, and then go look at their balance sheets or whatever. It's nothing that you really want to look at. Go use ChatGPT. It'll tell you your direct answer. But none of them are seeing a profit because everybody that's using that for those type of purchases, right? They're gonna default on it. Also, what are you at this? And like Tyler was just saying in the beginning, how are you going to tell somebody, "Hey, give me my money back," when most of the times that the goods purchased are temporary, so in and out. You can't come and reclaim the car, the house, whatever it is, right? If I bought some shoes and I threw them away the next day, you can't get those back, right? Or I'll wear them to death. I run a marathon in them. Like, are you really gonna want? They've already lost value, essentially. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know, but um, some things that like we've seen earlier too. I mean, like I said, buy now pay later is always existing as financing, but just getting credit cards in general for no reason, with no thought process behind them. Um, my rule of thumb for starting your credit journey and then where you should be at kind of like in there is first you start off with that initial card that has no yearly payment. And there's another issue too is people get cards that have yearly payments like as your first initial card. You need to get you a little starter card, one that's going to help you build your credit. And most times, if you don't have any, credit history or whatever, you're not going to have a crazy credit line. So that's going to help keep you in place as far as like not overspending. And then that's how you get started. Now down the line, that's when you get your card that has those benefits extra for you that are more essential to your lifestyle, right? There's no reason you should be getting credit cards that you don't spend money in or don't value you or have any benefits that, you know, are attained to your lifestyle. A lot of times it'd be like, oh, I'm gonna get this card, and most of those cards that have those type of benefits are probably gonna come with a yearly charge. So you need to look at it as then, okay, will I be flying a lot, right? Because people get those credit cards or whatever for an airline, and they might fly twice a year. It makes no sense for you to get that card, right? And we were just talking about earlier, like, I had the executive Costco card. I thought I was gonna spend enough to, pay for the card and then some. I did not. The gas that you could get, interest for, buying the groceries, everything else, it just wasn't adding up to enough to where I was like, okay, this is not, the card I need. Maybe, it's just better to not get that extra few dollars because it really didn't add up to nothing because I still had to pay, and then some on the card, uh, yearly fee or whatever. So those are the things that you need to look at as far as like getting those credit cards, which is going to lead me into the next thing is store credit cards. So I don't know if you have any like points on this or opinions, but for me, no go. I don't care what it is, what you're gonna get. You're not shopping in that store every day. Most of the time, they only have benefits that are necessary to their stores, right?
You're
Please stick
you're
with
saying like
retail.
retail.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So if you go into the mall and they say, "Hey, do you want to get a credit card with us or whatever?" That's just an extra card, extra inquiry, right, to your credit, and an extra card in your wallet that you're not gonna use.
Even if it's like you save, well, they're like save 10 or 20% today.
That's
Man, there's
that's
a
just for then, right? Because you're not really getting. There's no, yeah, I don't know.
I know a family member that did not understand what they were signing up for,
Hmm.
and it destroyed their credit for a little bit because they didn't understand it was a credit card. It was very unfortunate to say the least.
Yeah, if you do have one of those currently, and you know it's just sitting in your wallet, you haven't been to that store, get that canceled. Hopefully, like it doesn't have any balances. Most of the time, you can argue those or whatever, or see what you can do. Especially if it's been sent to debt collectors or whatnot. But best believe, get that card closed. You do not need that card, especially if it's like at a retail store that you shop at once in every blue moon. Even if you shop there, you know, once a month, it's still not worth it. So, yeah. And then most
Why would you say that? Like, what makes you say that? I'm curious.
because
Or like explain it for everyone.
you can get a card that is beneficial that you can get cash back certain items. So say like my Chase Preferred, right? They'll sometimes have deals where you can get a certain amount of points or whatever back for certain stores that they are partnered with. You can get cash back that way, right? While having one credit card versus a retail store, you get a credit card for there, you get a credit card for here, you get a credit card for there. You have all these hard hits to your credit, um, basically hits through your card, and then now you're looking at one card that does everything, one credit hit, one that you can build a relationship with, get a higher credit line, versus 4 to 5 cards that have hit your credit so hard that it's dropped it about 100 points. And that 100 points can make a difference, right? Somebody who has a 600 credit score versus somebody who has a 700 credit score are going to be in two different ballparks as far as what you have available to you. Um, but yeah, I think it's just mostly like utilization, right? You're not using those cards, why get them, right? If you go somewhere and you're like, yeah, I eat pineapples once every blue moon, let me go ahead and get 20 of them. That doesn't make any type of sense, right? So this thing of like use case, are you using that? Think about like long term use. Are you really wanting it to hit your credit and you have to build it up over the next 6 7 months to get it basically balanced to where it used to be just because you got that one credit hit. And most times, right? You might not even qualify because sometimes they'll do a hard credit hit and then say, actually, you don't qualify the score because you already have bad credit card, I mean, bad credit history or score. So you just did a hard hit to your credit and then don't even qualify for the card. Um, Financing vehicles go that way. That's a whole other thing too as well. But yeah, so it's just not worth it. You do that and it's just not worth it. But yeah, what about you, Tyler? Anything else on those?
I mean, I think you hit on a lot of a lot of the points. Um, I would just run the numbers. Like, I know there was one flight credit card I was looking at, and this specific airline charges for bag fees.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like $40 each trip for a checked bag, and the card was only like it was like $90 a year. So I really looked at it. I was like, do I fly enough? One, two. If like I have to fly at least essentially one trip a year to break even on the fees. So like, should I just fly and just get use carry-on bags instead of a check bag? Like, I think there's several numbers you can run, write it down on a piece of paper, and I'm sure there's websites that can help you out with this if you don't know how to run the numbers. But also, it's just I don't like to spend like a lot of money on those. It's really scary to say the least if you're not used to all the access to money on credit cards and
Mm-hmm.
and such. So um, yeah, store credit cards never been my thing. I've never been interested. I don't think they provide enough value, but I don't really shop at stores enough, I guess, to do that. And that would seem like very salesy. Some of the department
Mm,
stores that sell them, you can tell that they get like bonuses for whenever they sign people up for a credit card, and
yeah,
it's a low key predatory.
yeah, no, facts. I just think it's just not. It's like I said, it's not worth it. Especially if you're somebody that doesn't have a great credit score, you're probably not gonna get that credit card, and it's just gonna make it's just like I said, it's like digging that hole for yourself. All it's gonna do is do a hard hit to your credit, and then what? You can't get the card, and now you've dropped like 15 points. So and even if you do have a good credit score, right? Most times you're not even gonna get that. That's the difference between those type of people as far as like the targeted audience versus like people that actually know, as far as like what credit is. It's extremely important. I think if you take anything away from, financial literacy, one of the things that impacts your life the most, that credit aspect, is to please understand that. If any time somebody wants to run your credit or whatever, they're gonna need your social security number, right? Once you get to that point, now you should already been had like, okay, is this actually worth it? Do they need this? Like, please do your research beforehand. Make sure that's something that's like you're going to use. Like I said, getting stuff that you're not going to actually use or what else, like, it's just not worth hitting your credit for that. But yeah, I just think overall, like, really just understand the impacts of financial illiteracy and how that can impact your credit. Those who are not financially literate, also another thing that one of the biggest pet peeves I have is parents who take out um, things in credit in like a child's name, and it's not in a good way, right? There's some times where you can get something under a child's name because you're trying to build their credit in a good way. A lot of times they do that is because they have bad credit, and now you done mess up the credit for your kids. I think that's just yeah, don't even get me started. That's the biggest headache in the world. But yeah, please, 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 always set up the next people for success and not failure. You're basically pulling them down into the hole with you when you can get them on a good playing field. Um, and yeah, and just being more financially literate and confident about the decisions that they do as far as once they get out into their world. I think one of the biggest learning experiences I had was just going to college in general, learning how certain people, depending on their socioeconomic background, handled certain financial situations. Those who do come from some type of financial support or literate background always most definitely make better financial decisions because they understand the impact of making, you know, a bad financial transaction, essentially, whether it's, credit, loans, yada, yada, like just understand it is. And then people who don't come from those backgrounds and they're just like, I've never seen this type of money, whatever. I'm just going to spend it or whatever. I can't wait to get my refund back, or just a lot of things that are not financially sound. Those are the things that we need to work on as far as making sure that you get to an even playing field and then being able to expand yourself from there. But yeah, those are just my thought pieces on that. What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I think that's important. It's um, hopefully there's a law. I think, I actually want to look that up now. Is like for parents taking out things in their kids' names, or any legal guardian, I guess to say the least. I think it's really important to, respect that and they even have, for if there's any parents out there or guardians out there watching this, there's like kids cards a green light is a good example of a good product for kids to have their own card and learn things and stuff. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It is unfortunate how some guardians have done that though
Hmm.
for kids.
Yeah, because
It's not cool.
it's just like I said, you're not setting them up for success. And it's really out of their control because in reality they couldn't do that on their own up until they get to a certain age point. So, and I've talked to a few friends or family members, and they're like, yeah, I didn't even know like my mom or dad took this out. Like I was trying to get something, and they said my credit score was already in the trash. I was like, I haven't even done anything yet, right? And then like they're saying like, no credit is just like having bad credit to an extent. Once you start your credit journey and you start making, sound financial decisions, that's how you know once you start building it up, it is easier to start with no credit and start building your credit versus having bad credit and starting to build your credit. Because then you don't know what type of damage you've already done. And like I said, that's just trying to climb your way out versus being on a level playing field, building your way up. So, but yeah, that's all for me. Tyler, anything else from you?
Nope, nothing for me.
All right. Well, let us know in the comments if you have any, opinions over buy now, pay later. I know we talked about it a couple of times, and then also, just credit cards in general. What are some of the things that you've been told, whether they were financially sound or not? And yeah, what do you think about as far as like, some of the best credit practices or building your credit? But that's all from us. We'll catch you guys all in our next video. And yeah, thank you. Peace.